Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the YouTube channel. My name is Jeremiah. In today's video, we're going to talk about how I created this scan effect using Element 3D version 2 in my recent short film called Intruder. If you haven't seen it, I'll go ahead and just leave a little link in the description below, or somewhere on the screen you can go ahead and click and go ahead and check it out. If not, that's fine. We're going to go ahead and just talk about it briefly here anyway. But before we actually get into the tutorial, just as always, I'm going to go ahead and read off the verse of the day for you guys, and then somewhere in the middle or end, pray, and go ahead and just wrap it up. So the effect that I'm going to cover today is this effect here, where this little model is kind of scanning in. Now, I'm not into the business today to try to make things look all pretty and stuff like that, but I will go ahead and cover how to do the scan effect itself, these little lines, and the displacement amongst the surface of the model itself. You can see it like all right here. I won't even go into how to create like a transitional map that's like complex, but I will just show you the overall basic kind of thing. Fun fact about this effect, this thing was created by just happy accident. So I'm hoping today inside this tutorial it will also be created again by happy accidents. I don't have a script or any kind of like process of creating this at the moment. So if I do get caught up or just hung up or anything, just give me a moment, it'll all start to click here in a minute, because literally it just happened by happy accidents. So cool thing also is that there was like almost 4 years ago I created a version of this already, and about 2 years after that created a better version, and now today created this version. So if you're just now tuning in, if this is your first time watching this, congratulations. I just saved you from a bunch of scarring of creativity of the mind, so bear with me on that. So let's go ahead and get into it. I'm gonna go ahead and read off the verse of the day. The verse of the day is Romans 3:23. All have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. That's the verse of the day. Let's talk about some stuff. So with everything that's going on here in America, with all the division, confusion, and hatred thereof, shooting this was a fun process, but it was also stressful and scary at the same time. Reason being, so I had me and my wife go outside. She didn't help me do anything. I just wanted to go ahead and challenge myself to go ahead and shoot a short film completely by myself with the equipment that I do have. She was with me, but she didn't help me. And then top off after that, she doesn't really have the knowledge anyway to work the camera. But shooting this, we had a police officer that was just riding around the entire block the entire time we was up there shooting. We had like people on both sides of the streets. Like this side is all business owned, on this side of the road it is all business owned, and if you can see, there's a guy right here that's getting in and out of his car. When I started to run, he kind of like paused and looked at me a little bit. So with everything that's happening here in America, like this thing could have went left at any given moment in time of this day of the shoot. I'm so glad and so blessed that the Lord favor was upon my life and my wife's life, that we was protected. So all honor and all praises goes to God Almighty, because anything could have happened. Like the enemy that we have in common could have taken me out this day, but the Lord have other plans over my life, so that's good. So let's go ahead and just start the tutorial. It's enough ramping and all that good stuff. I got a project already kind of open up here in like an After Effects. So I'm gonna go ahead and start up a new composition. I'm just name this main and hit OK. It's 10 seconds long. You can make it whatever length you want to go ahead and make it. That's fine. I'm gonna go ahead and drag this inside my main comp, come down here, create a new solid, name this element. You can make the color whatever you want. It's arbitrary, it doesn't really matter. Okay, I'm gonna use FX console, throw on element, and go into my scene setup. Now, like I said, I'm not going to use that model that I use inside the short film, because that model is completely complex. I had to jump inside C4D and Photoshop and do a bunch of stuff with textures and polygons in order to make that thing look like it did, and it still didn't come out the way that I thought it was going to come out. So, but I will go ahead and use a model from like the starter pack. I'm gonna go ahead and use the statue. If you have Element 3D, you should have this pack. Go ahead and use a statue, and yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and just hit OK. All the textures and stuff is applied, it's fine. I'm gonna go ahead and create a camera, and I'm gonna just delete the 135 is fine, it doesn't matter. The cool thing also about this effect is that although we're gonna be pre-composing and all that stuff, inside the main comp you can still add in lights and you know, ambient occlusion and stuff, and it will still affect your model with everything that we're going to be doing to it. Okay, so let's go ahead and create our transitional kind of effect. Let me just go ahead and zoom into the model. This thing is pretty far. I want you to see this. Okay. Okay, so create a new solid. I'm gonna turn this black, and I don't know, just call this matte. And I'm not gonna make it comp size. I'm gonna make it bigger than comp size, something square, but like 2000 by like 2000. What's going on here? Oh, sorry about that. 2000 by 2000 is fine. I'm gonna hit OK. And then I'm gonna pre-compose. You can do that with Shift Control C or layer pre-compose if that's a thing. I'm gonna leave all the attributes. I'm gonna call this matte transition pre-comp, or not even pre-comp, it's asset. So that's what it is. It's gonna be an asset. I'm gonna hit OK. I'm gonna go back to my project file. I'm gonna make sure that my asset is inside my asset folder, and we're gonna need to keep up with that because we're gonna have to use that a couple times here. So I'm gonna hit Control S to save it, just in case if After Effects decides to kill over on me. I'm gonna go to Edit, Purge. I'm looking at my cache to make sure that we're all good. Yeah, we're all good. I'm gonna dive into my asset composition just by double clicking on it, and now I'm inside that composition, as you can see here. So the way how this effect worked is that the same methods in Photoshop is created, or the same methods in Photoshop is used to create this effect, meaning that when you create like a layer mask in Photoshop, like black conceals and white reveals, that's pretty much what I kept in mind creating this effect. And that's how this effect is created. So right now we have a black solid, and if I go ahead and create another solid, but turn this to white, you can name it anything you want to if you want to keep up with it that well. I'm just name it reveal or something. So mind you, so white reveals and black conceals. So at this moment, I'm gonna leave it completely up to you to create any kind of like transitional pattern from black to white that you want to go ahead and create. My knowledge about doing that stuff in After Effects is not that great. Your knowledge about it may be better than mine, and that's great, that's cool. But however you want to go ahead and do that here at this point. So in my case, I'm gonna just go ahead and do something very simple, just to show you the methods behind it. I'm gonna create a circle and go up to my radius. I'm gonna turn this to 0. Click on the stopwatch. I'm at the first keyframe. I'm gonna go way over here, and I'm gonna just turn this all the way up until it covers the composition itself. I'm gonna hit U on the keyboard to bring up the keyframes, and I'm gonna just ease these keys, and then that's it. So we should have a transition that's doing something like this. Yeah. So like I said, you can do anything you want. You can do linear wipe. If you know how to make octagon shaped patterns or something, you can go ahead and do that stuff too. But just make sure that when you're doing it, it starts from black and then it slowly transition to completely white. That's what we're going over here. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit Control S. I'm gonna go back to my main composition. And we don't need to see this, so I'm gonna go ahead and place it below everything. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna duplicate my element layer. I'm gonna go to my bottom one, and I'm gonna just rename this to element backup, just in case if everything goes horribly wrong. Hoping that it's not, or it doesn't. I'm gonna go ahead and go back up here. I'm gonna duplicate it one more time. So now this thing becomes our element, I don't know, original. And this one up here becomes our element illumination, because that's what we're going to do. We're going to mess around with the illumination settings inside of the element scene setup. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn off our original. Control S again. I'm gonna come up here to our illumination element layer and go to custom layers, custom texture maps, and then I'm gonna load in that transitional asset that we just created. And then nothing happens. That's fine. We need to jump inside the scene setup, and then also inside the scene setup, we need to keep in mind that same method from Photoshop of you know, black conceals and white reveals. Go ahead and just throw this down really quickly so you can see what I'm about to do. I'm gonna drop down this arrow, go to my textures of my model. I'm gonna right click and I'm gonna just strip away everything. And right now is just a default base color. That's fine. I'm gonna come down here to my texture slots, come to my illumination, and then also apply that transitional matte. I'm gonna come down here to my diffuse color. We need to turn this black because, as I said once before, black conceals, white reveals. So completely black, and it kind of got some sort of glossiness thing on it. So let's just go ahead and get rid of all that just by turning all this down besides the actual, diffuse thing there. We need to do one more thing. We need to go ahead and tell Element, hey, you know what? Even though we loaded up this custom texture map inside our illumination slot, it's still not activated because here inside the illumination area, it's still at 0%. So we need to go ahead and change this to 100. And once we do that, the model goes completely white. So if we go ahead and hit OK, we'll start to see that transitional map that we created inside the composition. And if you don't believe me, let's just stroll along and you kind of see what's happening here. And mind you, the whole thing is still three-dimensional and it has an alpha channel. So congratulations, we created the effect. That's pretty much how it happens. From this point, it's just a matter of using track mats and stuff. So I'm gonna come down here to my element original. Before I do that, Control S, just in case. And I'm gonna go ahead and toggle my switches. If you don't see your track mat kind of slot or column, you can go ahead and hit F4 on the keyboard or toggle switches. Go ahead and pull that up. I'm gonna come down here to my element original and I'm gonna just change it to, I think it's Lumimat. So let's go ahead and do that. Yeah, so it's Lumimat, and then we kind of see what's happening here. Like the model itself is being scanned in over the duration of the transitional effect. So this main composition is 10 seconds, our transitional effect is 10 seconds long. So kind of see what's happening. Cool, so we created the effect and it's still, like I said, three-dimensional. It has an alpha channel and all that. So if you want to go ahead and 3D track a scene or anything like that, literally the same principles and methods apply. I don't have an example for you guys today. I'm so sorry about that. So the next thing I want to do is let's create this little like lines effect that's kind of like separate from the actual scan effect itself. So that's very simple to do. What I'm going to do is hit Control S on the keyboard really quickly, and then come back up here to my transitional asset that we did create with the solid layer or the circle layer. I'm sorry about that. And hit Control D to duplicate it, and then I'm gonna just rename this to, I don't know, matte transitional lines or something, asset. And then I'm gonna double click on it to go inside that composition. And then everything that we do in here will not affect this composition because this composition is its own composition. I notice I'm saying composition a lot, so just don't get confused on that. I'm gonna come back up here to my circle layer, and I'm actually just gonna like rename this to reveal circle. Come back up here to my effects control, and I think I want to go out and say it's thickness that we need instead of the edge radius. So I'm gonna go ahead and click on thickness, and you can see what happens. It creates this kind of like definite little line that just kind of grows over time of our given keyframes here, but it's not completely filling out the thing with white anymore. So everywhere that is white, this will appear up on our object or our 3D model, and everything that's black will still be cut off. So how we go ahead and make this happen, let's jump back inside our main comp, go back up here to the project, and now let's also drag in our new asset. You can kind of see what's going on here. I'm gonna hit Control S just in case, and what we need to do is starting to use the same setup that we got. We got our illumination going on, and then we also have our original track matte. We need to go ahead and duplicate this a couple times just to go ahead and get this effect to work. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to click on both of these and then Control D to duplicate. Then I'm also going to come back up here just so you guys can go ahead and see it. I'm going to lay down a adjustment layers just to serve as like some sort of like divider, just so you guys can see it. Like, you don't need this adjustment layer whatsoever. And then what I'm also going to do is click on both of these guys and then change up the color, so you will know that these two belong together and everything below the adjustment layer belongs to its group. So, well, I don't know what I want to go ahead and do with this. Yeah, aqua's fun. So what I'm going to do now, our original change this to original lines, change this to illumination lines, and we need to go back up here into our illumination lines, go inside our custom texture map. I'm actually just go ahead and turn this thing off at the bottom. Shouldn't be able to see it. So right now what you're seeing is what we just duplicated up top. I'm still on my lines layer of my element stuff. I'm gonna come up here to my custom texture map, and then instead of that previous transitional map that we created, let's go ahead and select the new transitional map of this guy here. So let's go ahead and select that. You should start to see where these lines are like separate from the actual scan itself. And mind you, once again, the whole thing is still three-dimensional, so you can get like a sense about what's happening. I think I need a background in there so you can see it, but it's okay. You can kind of see what's happening right here. We kind of get this little lines effect. Okay, so if I go ahead and turn back on our bottom setup here, you can kind of see where it's lining up perfectly. That's good. That's exactly what we want. So in order to get this to glow and all that stuff that I was doing, the only thing that I was doing on here, I'll just literally turn this layer to add or screen, whatever you want to do, and starting to add in third-party plugins, or if you don't have those guys, you can go ahead and use built-in glows and exposures and anything like that. I was using trap code shine from Red Giant, but let's just see. Like if I use shine now, I'm gonna have to zoom in here a little bit. You can see exactly what's going on. Computer's going really slow. Okay, so shine, you can do, I don't know, glow, and start just cranking up settings and stuff if you want to. Actually, and then even lay down VC color vibrance if you want, and starting to get that kind of like look that you're going for. I'm not here to show you guys that at the moment. I'm just here to show you the like effect. So I'm just go ahead and cut this off at up top, but we know that it's that's there, like it's all correct. You can see. And mind you, this is all still inside this main composition with our original layer, meaning that I can literally anytime jump inside the scene setup and start messing around with things here. Like if I wanted to lay down, I don't know, like a different environment altogether or something like that. Let me get something that's actually standing out. This is fine. Come back and hit OK. It should update. I can lay down all sorts of lights and stuff. That's fun. And it should affect the model. I can still add in what is this, like ambient occlusion and all that stuff you want to add, and it still affects the model. I'm gonna just exaggerate this a lot. Get that? So it still affects the model even though we got this stuff happening here. So cool. That's what's up. The next thing that I do want to cover is how to get different looks of how this thing's scan in. That's a cool little thing to go ahead and do too. So the way how to do that is to adjust both of your illumination layers of your given groups, meaning that, let's see, so if I come up here to my scene setup, and if I scroll down to, actually go ahead and click on this guy here, if I scroll down to my UV mapping, right now it's on UV. Well, I have a drop down, I got all these options here. Let me just click on box and hit OK. You can kind of see what's happening. We get a whole different look about how this thing is scanning in. If I go back inside my scene setup and I don't know, click on like sphere or something, we get a whole different look as well. And then right below your drop down, you also have these options here. You can go ahead and change those guys if you want to, like 5, maybe 2 or something, I don't know, just random values, and we get a whole different look also. But be mindful that like any given time that you change something out here, you also have to change it to this one as well, because if I turn on our little lines, it's all off, it's all over the place. So we need to go up here also to scene setup and go to here. I think we got it on sphere, and then 5, and then maybe, was it on 2? Yeah. and then come back out, you can kind of see where things are lining up. I'm actually gonna exaggerate the thickness a little bit so you guys can see it better. And you can also change the feathering or something if you want. Yeah, so you can kind of see it a little bit better what's going on. So things should be lining up perfectly. So that's good. I'm gonna go ahead and hit Control S, and that's pretty much how you create the scan effect, the line effect, and then now we got to do the displacement, and you can kind of see what's happening here. So in order for this to work, I think I use both Red Giant Chromatic Displacement and After Effects built-in displacement map. You can go ahead and use both of those if you want, but we need to go ahead and set that up so we can go ahead and use it in a way just as like an asset as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn off our little lines group here. Hit Control S on the keyboard. I'm looking down at the top of the tutorial, and let's just go ahead and create this really quickly. But before we actually go ahead and start, pre-composing and all this stuff, make sure that inside your main composition, however you want your camera to go ahead and move, that's set in stone. And whatever little adjustments or changes that you make to this camera, you must also copy and paste inside the composition that we're about to go ahead and make, because if you don't, it won't line up properly. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn off my track matte to my original real quick so I can see my model, and I want to animate my camera really quickly just to show you this. I may go from this angle, P shift A, position or point, like position and point of interest. I'm gonna go way to my timeline, and I'm gonna just turn this. I think After Effects and froze on me. Did it? Nope, we're good. So freeze this, come out a little bit, maybe something like this. Okay, we can do that. I'm gonna go ahead and ease these guys. Okay, so what I'm going to do is hit Control S, and what I need to do is come back to my original, put the track map back to Luma Matte, and let's see what it looks like. It looks fine. It just scans in over the course of time. And what I need to do is go ahead and select the original, this top one, and the camera, and then Control D. I'm gonna go ahead and bring these guys up so you can see what I'm about to do. And I just need to pre-compose. Once again, layer pre-compose or Control Shift C. And we're gonna call this transition displacement pre-comp, because it's going to be a pre-comp. You can come back up here to your project, and it should be inside the pre-comp layers. So we don't need to see this layer. It's working all good, so I'm going to go ahead and just throw this at the bottom. Now, depending on how you want your displacement to go ahead and look, it will affect the layers below it depending on where you throw this adjustment layer at. In this case, since I'm just showing you how to set it up, I'm gonna just throw it at the very top. And I'm gonna just punch in chromatic displacement, and then the layer that I want to add my displacement to is the new pre-comp that we just made. So if I go ahead and click on that and actually turn this thing like up in a way, you can kind of see what's happening. And yeah, and that's pretty much how that came to be. Now, if you don't have the chromatic displacement, After Effects built-in displacement map stuff works as well. You can go ahead and choose this. I don't know, maybe go down to luminance and start to mess around with the pixels. And it does the same kind of thing in a way. Get you a different look, or you may like that. I think in my example, I use both chromatic displacement and like the built-in effect. So just turn them on and you can kind of get something there. Now, in order to go ahead and control this, I did set this up on a control slider, and the way how you do that is just another adjustment layer, and then slider control, and then you can name that whatever you want to, and then it's just up to you to link the opacity to this thing here. So you can just alt click on this and stopwatch, and then drag and drop to the slider and click away. And then since the slider is at 0% or 0, you can turn this to 100, and the displacement comes back, and all you probably need to do is now is just adjust the slider. I had multiple effect as far as like, displacement happened. I had all sorts of stuff happening to this, vortex particle things happening with displacement and all that. And I just linked it all up to one slider and then just had it fade in and fade out over the course of some time. But that's pretty much how you create the scan effect, the lines effect, and the displacement. I showed you how to go ahead and get different looks about it. And yeah, I hope you learned something from that and call it a day. Now, mind you, if there's anything else inside this little short film that you want to see done, just let me know. Just ask me about it. I wouldn't mind talking about it and showing you guys and then calling it a day. But before we actually go ahead and end off the video, I do want to do a prayer for you guys, and then yeah, so let me just pray for you guys, and may the Lord bless you, and may he keep you, may he make his face to shine upon you and your family. May the Lord lift up his countenance on you, may he write his name on your heart and say that you belong to him. In Jesus' name I pray that you have a Jesus-filled week. Amen. I love you guys. I'll see you in the next one.